It was an encounter that promised to shake the boxing world. In one corner stood Mike Tyson, the ferocious phenom who had been demolishing opponents with his devastating power and unmatched aggression. And in the other corner stood a relatively unknown Cuban giant, towering over his adversaries with a strength that rivaled that of the legendary George Foreman. Who would emerge victorious in the clash of titans between Mike Tyson and the Cuban giant Jose Ribalta? Join us as we delve into this epic encounter. In 1982, Ribalta made his professional debut. He had a winning streak of 10 games. In 1983, he was defeated by Ricardo Richardson through TKO in the 7th round. Then Ribalta won 7 more fights. Ribalta rose through the professional boxing ranks as a sparring partner for WBC champion Trevor Berbick and title contender Jerry Cooney. His first nationally broadcast fight was against James Bone Crusher Smith in July 1985. Ribalta was defeated in a tie vote. The judgment of the judges infuriated the audience, and Ribalta felt he had been robbed. Ribalta faced Marvis Frazier in September 1985. Frazier won the bout by majority decision after a tight contest. In May 1986, David Yako knocked him down, but he recovered and won by knockout in the 5th round. On August 17, 1986, Tyson and Ribalta met at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. Tyson, the WBA's #1 contender and the WBC's #2 contender, had been decimating the heavyweight class since his first pro fight in March 1985 and came into the match with a perfect 25-0 record that included 23 knockouts. Ribalta, a 23-year-old Cuban who became pro at 18, entered with a 22-3-1 record and a WBC ranking of 6th. Thought to be straightforward, Cuban-born Ribalta gave a young Tyson his roughest night, recovering from 3 knockdowns to reach the final round. "I hit Jose Ribalta with everything, and he took everything and kept coming back for more," Tyson marveled years later to Ring magazine, claiming Ribalta had the finest chin of any boxer he'd fought. Tyson also described El Nino as the physically strongest heavyweight he'd ever fought, saying, "Ribalta stood toe-to-toe with me. He was mighty in the clenches." Ribalta, a potential journeyman, entered the fight with a 22-3-1 record. However, he suffered a KO defeat in his 11th professional bout and, afterward, a points defeat against Marvis Frazier. Marvis Frazier, son of Smokin' Joe, was the man Tyson had ripped apart in 30 seconds a month before. Tyson stepped into the ring against Ribalta looking much more furious than usual, snarling, bare-chested, and saturated in sweat. Ribalta did meet Tyson's fierce pre-fight gaze eyeball to eyeball, but HBO analyst Larry Merchant summed up the prevailing mood when he welcomed the opening bell by saying, "Don't use toilets or open the refrigerator since Mike Tyson only works a few hours daily." A prudent word of caution. Tyson distributed early knockouts like most people distributed business cards in the 1980s. His previous 4 opponents had lasted a total of 5 rounds, and while 2 guys, James Quick Tillis and Mitch Blood Green, had taken Tyson the distance when he was a teenager, they had done it by spoiling and avoiding combat, Tillis, and outright fleeing, Green. Ribalta was a game fighter who, unlike Green and Tillis, actually engaged me, Tyson said in his autobiography, Undisputed Truth. "Even hours after the battle, I felt queasy from all of Ribalta's body strikes. I've never felt so much overall agony in my life." In round 2, the 6'5" Ribalta, who towered over Tyson and looked incredibly muscular, deviated from the regular opponent pattern. Tyson's ferocious uppercut nearly knocked Ribalta out, but he got back up at the count of 4 and withstood the frantic follow-up to hear the bell. We were already in unfamiliar territory. Tyson's opponents tended to surrender early or, by cunning and fortitude, avoid the early damage. Nobody has been injured this badly early on, but got up to fight. Yet Ribalta did, even garnering Tyson's incredulity at the end of round 3. Tyson's game plan for surviving the early storm and coming on strong was almost paid off by the middle rounds. While absorbing lots of leather, he also hit Tyson in the body and caught him with uppercuts as the sawn-off Brooklynite unleashed his blows. In round 8, Ribalta was liberated of his mouthpiece as a horrific Tyson bomb broke it clean out of his mouth. Soon after, Ribalta was knocked down with a thunderous Tyson left hook, only to rise and fight again. Tyson's endurance was holding up well, and his work rate never really dropped, although he did appear angry at times, looking at referee Rudy Battle whenever Ribalta tied him up or occasionally punched him low. The end came just when Ribalta appeared to go the distance. Ribalta was knocked out in the 10th and final round with a left hook to the head for the third time. When asked if he wanted to continue, fighter Ribalta didn't hesitate, saying, "Yeah, hell yeah."
Hey, how you doing? You want to continue? Yeah, okay.
And his subsequent bombardment convinced the conflict to dive in and end the conflict. Larry Merchant thought the stoppage was too soon, noting that Ribalta had taken punches like that before and had come back. According to the final punch numbers, Tyson had landed 220 strikes, nearly 100 of which were power shots. But Ribalta continued fighting back and returning fire to the point where Tyson's 10th round KO was the latest KO of his career. As a result, it was one of the renowned heavyweight's favorite knockouts, even though the violent bout derailed his post-fight preparations. Besides gaining a lot of respect from the crowd and commenters for his determination, Ribalta also managed to ruin my night, Tyson said years later. After the fight, I had a date with a lovely young co-ed. This young girl followed me to my room, touching me, but I recoiled in agony. "Hey, please don't come near me. It's nothing personal, but I have to leave right now. I simply need some calm," he explained. She was really patient. She'd gone at the fight and saw all the punishment I'd taken. I'd never experienced anything like it before. Tyson praised Ribalta's will to not be knocked out. The valiant loser attributed his accomplishment to having no fear of the hot prospect before the battle. "I was one of the first guys to fight Mike Tyson head-on, and we went at it for 10 hard rounds," Ribalta later explained. "Everyone else was just trying to survive." Unfortunately for Ribalta, forecasts from impressed commentators that he demonstrated he could be a top heavyweight contender proved inaccurate. After losing to Tyson, he won 9 fights in a row, usually against weak opposition, and at one point was advocating for a rematch with Don King. However, between 1990 and 1992, Ribalta suffered 5 consecutive defeats, including a second-round KO at the hands of Frank Bruno in London, before retiring in 1999 with a 38-17-1 record. Tyson received a mixed bag of results. He saw the battle as a significant learning experience, believing that having to dig deep to win was a vital step on his path to becoming the undisputed champion. Tyson had also demonstrated for the first time that he could carry his power late and halt a tenacious opponent. Ribalta, a towering heavyweight with an unimpressive record but a sharp jab and great basics, had demonstrated how to use such weapons against Tyson. It was a very similar game plan to the one used by James Buster Douglas 4 years later when he stunned the world by defeating Tyson, even if a distracted Iron Mike had as much to blame for his demise as his life outside the ring spiraled out of control. But Tyson was still boxing's fastest emerging star in 1986, and no opponent pushed him more for a stunning KO finish than unheralded, unknown Jose Ribalta. Ribalta says Iron Mike isn't the hardest hitter he has ever faced and wants to step in the ring with Tyson again. Ribalta's career plummeted when he was denied a rematch with Tyson in 1990, and he became regarded as one of those journeyman fighters who was always eager to walk into the ring at a moment's notice. He was knocked out in the third-to-last bout of his career by Vitaly Klitschko, who went on to win the WBO heavyweight title a little over a year later. In his second match, Ribalta was defeated by Chris Bird, who subsequently defeated Klitschko to win the same championship. In October 1999, Razor Ruddock knocked him out and retired, finishing his career with a 38-17-1 record. Regarding who Ribalta feels was the toughest hitter he ever faced in his 56 fights, he believes it was James Bone Crusher Smith, who defeated Ribalta through a split decision in April 1985. Tyson, of course, stepped down in 2005. Ribalta, now 58, was unimpressed and honestly believed he would be chosen as Iron Mike's opponent. "I thought I'd be chosen because even after we boxed in 1985, millions of people wanted to see a rematch between Mike Tyson and me. Individuals like to see individuals being attacked, especially after spending so much money. The fight was fantastic, but there could have been more contact. Ribalta, who now works as a security guard and stays in shape, says he'd be happy to fight Tyson or any other big-name heavyweight going the exhibition way these days. While the chances of this happening are minimal, you never know in boxing. While Tyson's unrelenting power continued to dominate the heavyweight division, the Cuban behemoth demonstrated his strength and perseverance. But now, how would their careers have unfolded if they had crossed paths again in the future? Would the outcome be different, or will it remain the same? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this video helpful, remember to like and subscribe to stay updated on all our latest content.